In this video tutorial, I will take you through how to set up a local environment to build and test CHT applications on CHT version 3.9. This will include setting up some tools to help you manage and build CHT applications. I'll also go through a brief overview of key concepts. These are things that you would need some background on to understand and progress as you set up your local environment. I'll begin with the CHT core framework. This makes it easier and faster for developers to build full features, scalable digital health applications by providing a foundation upon which someone can build on. The CHT core framework applications support multiple languages. They're offline fast, they work on basic smartphones via SMS, on basic phones via SMS, smartphones, tablets, and computers. CHT Project Configurer is also known as CHT-Conf. It's a command line interface tool to manage and configure CHT applications. Docker is a tool designed to make it easier to create, deploy, and run applications using containers. And containers allow developers to package up an application with all the parts it needs, such as libraries and other dependencies, and deploy it as one package. You can read more about these concepts on the Docker setup guide. So before you begin, you need to install some key applications and tools. You need to have Node.js and ensure that that's properly installed. And if I type Node version, I'd be able to get the version of Node.js that I'm using. You also need npm installed, and you can check that that's properly installed. You also need Git, you need Docker, and Docker Compose. So Docker is already running on my machine, and I can check that Docker Compose is also there on my terminal. So once I ensure everything is in place, I could use curl to pull a docker compose.yml file from GitHub. And I'll do this by running a curl command on my terminal. But before I do this, I'll create a directory which will serve as my working directory for this work. And then I'll navigate to this directory. And from here, I will run my curl command. So curl, the output to a file, I'll call it docker compose.yml. And then I will just copy and paste the URL, which is from the CHT core framework repository and is available in the CHT doc site. Once I have this, I'll just enter and the file will be downloaded. I check, I'll find it there. So once this is ready, I will run a docker compose command within this folder, and docker compose up, and this will pull the necessary images and files that we'll need to set up our local environment. So once this is done, you can open your browser and then go to localhost to just ensure that everything is running. You'll see that that's not secure. In some cases, you may get a message that the connection is not secure, and you can just advance or look at our documentation to find out how you can go around the issue depending on the system, browser, operating system that you're on. In this case, we'll assume everything went fine, and so from this setup, I'll have the login page, and from the login page, I could use a default username and password, which I didn't change at any point. And so the default username is medic, and the password is password. And so I'm able to sign in, to log in, and to see a tour, which I can skip, or I can cancel, and I'll be able to see the main tabs of the CHT core framework application. At times I'll be able to get a version update, which I can just cancel as well. So there are 5 tabs. The messages tab, which is where you'd see messages that are sent, or you could also send messages. There's a tasks tab, where a user, a community health worker, will be able to see the tasks that they're meant to do. There's a reports tab, where they can see the reports that they've submitted, a people tab, and a targets tab. So I'm currently logged in as an admin user, and if I go to the hamburger menu on the side and look at app management, I'd be taken to the administration console, and I'd get a number of options on the side where I could select any one of these to perform different actions. I could look at the display, which allows me to set date and time options, language translations. Users allows me to add users and edit existing users. Roles and permissions allows me to create different types of permissions and roles that would be granted to users that I've created. There's SMS, app forms, targets that you'll learn more about in future tutorials, images, outgoing messages, upgrades allow me to upgrade to the latest version. So this is currently version 3.9, and I'll be able to see other versions that I can install on this environment. I can also import and export data, and I can back up my application configuration code. So that's currently what's available. So now that you have this running, you need CHT-conf to ensure that you can make modifications, upload configurations to your CHT application. Once you ensure everything on localhost is running well, you're now ready to install CHT Project Configure or CHT-conf. And I'll do that using npm. So I'll just type npm install, select the global option, CHT-conf, enter. So now I've seen everything has installed. There are no errors. You can now type CHT version to check the version of CHT-conf you're on. you can type CHT help to check the different commands that you can use. So one with, so I'll go ahead and install PyX form using pip, and I'll run this as a super user so that I have all the necessary permissions. You can check the documentation or the notes that are provided to get all the commands you need depending on the operating system that you're using. One of the first actions that I have available to me is to set up a blank project that would create the necessary files for me to start building forms, building tasks, building targets, and so on. And so to do that, since I'm already in my project folder, I could just type CHT initialize project layout. So what this does is it creates the framework that I would use to start building my CHT application. And if I look at the files that are now created, I'll see an app settings folder, I'll see a forms folder, I'll see a resources folder, tasks.js file, contact summary.js, I'll see resources.json, translations, and targets.js. So all these folders and files are necessary to start building your applications, because this is where you'll be adding your code, you'll be adding your XLS files, and everything else that you'd need as you develop your CHT application.